What is going on, everybody? Welcome to this episode of the Tech Box Podcast. And guess what? It is episode number 10. We hit the Big 10, Dale.
10. All
That's
right.
right. So that means
We
we've
are
been
in the
doing this for,
double digits.
yeah, we're in the podcasting business now. We've hit 10 episodes, which we're going to get I'm going to get all those fancy emails from all the places of like, oh, you've uploaded your 10th episode and all the great things. So, but we appreciate all the listeners. We're still super tiny, but we're growing little by little every single episode. And that's super awesome. And it's all because of the people that listen to us. And yeah, I'm still on the like people actually just want to sit and listen to us talk. That's so weird.
I know, right? But hey, but we're talking about dogs, so that's a pretty good topic. I mean, when you think of things you could be talking about, I mean, yeah, it's all right. I mean, we might talk about poop. You never know. I mean, it's like all sorts of things.
Yeah, I mean, we might talk about confirmation entry mistakes that you make while you're at a show and what you do in that situation, how you feel, and how that all works out. Because there's a lot of questions that come with that, and that actually happened to me this weekend. So I'm still a little down on it because it was just yesterday.
Yeah, congratulations. You're still feeling the burn of watching your wins go sailing out the
Yeah,
window.
so we'll just kick it off with that. And actually, like I feel the worst for my daughter because she was the one handling the dog. She won with the dog, got to go to her first group ever, and then come to find out on the way home is like we're going to be disqualified, or maybe disqualified isn't the right term. Like, what would the term be for that? Because
Ineligible.
disqualified,
Yeah, you're
ineligible.
disqualified.
Okay.
You're ineligible. Yeah. Yeah, it's so I'll tell you what, and no matter how long you do it, you have to really because we get in a hurry and we start just go and do those entries, chop, 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 and or I don't know what it is. If the entries close at noon on Wednesday, we're like 11:30 Wednesday. Okay, did you get those entries made? And it's like trying to slam them in. And that's a terrible idea. It's just a bad idea because you really need to go through that stuff and be so careful because you can lose your points, your majors, your best. You can lose all of your wins for the weekend. I mean, that you've put all that work and money into, and it can just be gone.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. So I want to. So when this happened, well, let's just preface it. This whole story. We'll just tell everybody what happened. So I had a bitch that I entered into a show Saturday, Sunday, Monday. She turned 18 months old on Sunday. So
Uh,
when I'm doing entry fees at the last minute, as Dale mentioned, 12 to 18, that's just what was on my mind, what I've always entered her. I just went by date, counted on my fingers, she's a year and then 1, 2, 3. Okay. So you count it out and you're like, yep, 12 to 18. You just enter in the show, not thinking, oh, she turns the 18 months on a Sunday. So anyway, not even thinking about it, entered in the show. So on Saturday, she took best of opposite sex, which is fine. She'll get the 3 point major out of that. She got to 14 points with 4 majors. So
Excellent.
I was like, oh, cool. First day of the show, she needs 1 point to finish. She'll probably get it. And we have another show this coming weekend. Yeah. And we have a show this coming weekend, and we're just like, yeah, we're not even going to enter her in that show because she's going to finish in Laramie, and if she doesn't, she's only going to need 1 point. We'll finish her at the next show, so we don't enter her in this weekend. Saturday, she doesn't even make it out of the class. Well, she made it out of her class because she was the only one, but she didn't make. She took reserve winners bitch, and then on so that was Sunday. Then Monday, she goes in, she wins her class, and McKenna's on her, and McKenna goes to the winner's bitch class, winner's bitch, and she takes winner's bitch, and she goes to the breed ring. And by this point, McKenna's just like super excited. She doesn't get in the breed ring often. Usually, I have the male dog that gets to the breed ring a lot. Yeah, she's in the breed ring and she gets breed with this bitch. So we finish the bitch. She gets the 3 point major. She's finished. She gets to go to group. McKenna's jacked up because she gets to go to group.
Right.
We get all the pictures, all the things, the new champion ribbon because it finishes her, all the things that a 16-year-old girl that finishes her first dog wants to
Oh,
do.
yeah, I want them too. I
Yeah,
mean, it's
right?
very exciting.
Yeah. And so she goes to group and we didn't place. We were in group all 3 days, which is awesome. We didn't place any of the days in group. which is fine. And then this like got brought to our attention. You know, she's 18 months old, right? And I'm like, no. And so then it all sinks in. So I would say most people listening to this probably know, but we'll just toss it around. And then there's a lot of what about this? What about this that pop up? So what happens in this scenario at this point, Dale? We have a bitch that one breed and wasn't entered in the wrong class by 2 days.
So she's ineligible for her class. And I'm just going to throw this out there. We are in the technology age, and I think it is kind of inexcusable that today, with how we should be able to, our classes should be automatically like bumped up. I think it's a kind of totally, there's no good excuse for the fact that you can make an online error and have that be kicked back. I don't like that. I think that should be, the American Kennel Club should require real-time processing of the entries, and they should, because it's just, it's unnecessary. So, especially when you're going to offer all of these different classes, you have 6 to 9, 9 to 12, American bred, 12 to 18. Now they've even divided the bred by class into bred by puppy and bred by adult, which I really hate, because now it's like, as I used to go, oh, I don't want to figure it out. I'm just put it in bred by. That's a good class. It's like a junk drawer. It's like, I bred it. It's in bred by. Now the only class that you can really do that in is the open class. You can put it in open. It doesn't matter. You can't really be unopen. I mean, it's open to all, or American bred, as long as it was born in the United States. But when those classes have age requirements and you're not in that, then if you win from that class, you're going to be deemed ineligible. You're going to get a letter from the American Kennel Club, and they're going to ask for the ribbons back. I don't know if anybody ever really sends them back, but yeah, they're going to ask. And then the reserve winner's animal, is dog or bitch, is going to they're going to get a letter, and it says, congratulations, you just won a major. But as far as like the breed winner for that show, it just doesn't happen. It just got taken away. And if you had gotten group placements, that would have been taken away, you know, because of ineligibility for the class. And that's where your reserve winners does come in, is where, that sometimes that reserve winner is going to be the dog of the day because of a mistake on the winning dog's part.
So all the time, 100% of the time, if the best of breed dog gets deemed ineligible, I don't like the word disqualified because it seems like when you look up disqualified, it's like, oh, you could get suspended if a judge disqualifies you 3 times, and things like that. So it's like, I don't feel like this fits under disqualified, but that's really what it is she's going to get disqualified. So in the breed ring, if the breed winner gets disqualified, 100% of the time, there's no breed winner. Then it doesn't go to like a reserve or anything like that.
Nope. And even if, let's say there's only two of one sex, two males, but there's a major in females. And so say the male beats the other dog, he gets winner's dog, and then he goes best to winners over that female and picks up a major. If he was entered in the wrong class, they're gonna deem him ineligible. They're gonna give the other dog winner's dog, but he won't get a major because he didn't beat the female. So he won't get it. The major will have just gone, and he'll just get 1 point. And so that's how that happened. Funny story. Very, very, very long time ago, and I won't even say the breed because some of the people are still alive. I was showing a client dog, and he needed a major to finish. And there were some people there with a beautiful puppy, and I went reserve to him 3 days in a row. And the last day, I was over there counting the points, and I looked and I thought, he's in the wrong puppy class. And I almost said to them, your dog's in the wrong puppy class. But then they came over and they said, we're not entering the following weekend. So if you need to try to win with your dog, you might want to enter there. And I just kind of, really? Okay. Thank you. And I went reserve again to him. And I said, you may want to reconsider entering there because you're going to lose all three of those majors you won because you're in the wrong class. I went in and got a new champion picture taken with my reserve winner's dog. I had reserve, new champion. And he picked up 3 majors that weekend, all by going reserve to their puppy, which was ineligible for that class. And so, yeah, it happens, and it's kind of a terrible way to win because you don't know until you didn't get a picture, you didn't whatever, and nobody wants to kind of like, it's kind of fun to win like you won. You don't want to win because the winner was, the owner of the winner isn't a good counter, you know. That's not a very fun way to win. But yeah, it's a thing, and lots of points get moved around because of that, and it's a whole thing. And it can really be, if you don't catch it right away, it can put you in a really bad position.
It puts you. So I have a lot of questions regarding this just because I had a 5-hour drive home. I figured out an hour into the drive that we did it. So it's like I had 4 hours of drive time of just like, well, what about this? Or what about this? So we'll just kick off some questions. It does put you in a really bad situation. And the bad situation could be a scenario like, I have a show next weekend. Yeah. So we showed Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I show again Friday. No, Thursday. I show Thursday. I show Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday this week. So it's like I have 3 days in between shows. So here's a scenario that where we need to catch up in 2025. Hopefully there's an AKC rep somewhere that we know or that listens or something. Cause like, hey, AKC meeting, maybe we should try to figure out 2025 a little bit because so let's say for argument's sake, we didn't catch this.
Right.
My bitch finishes. We think she finishes because she wins breed. We have a show this next weekend, and so we go to the superintendent on day one. We say, "Hey, this bitch is now a special. We need to move her up because we don't know we made a mistake at this point. We think she's a special. So now we're showing her in the special. This whole show is going to be disqualified, correct? When it all comes out."
Well, so say for example, say you had moved her to best of breed because she's finished, and you won the next 4 days and got grand championship defeats, majors, whatever, and you came well on your way of getting your grand championship. And then about 2 weeks later, you're going to get a letter that said, not only are you not finished, you lost all the grand championship points. She's not, you lost your champion defeats, you lost all of it. Just probably 4 years ago, I had a really beautiful Cavalier, and I wasn't going to a ton of shows. Had a handler show her, had her. She got her finishing major, 12 to 18 class. Hate that class. Hate it. Just hate it. She came home, came right into heat. I went ahead. I bred her. She had a complicated delivery. A section involved her being spayed, but I had a litter. But my bitch is spayed. My puppies were 4 weeks old, and I got a letter from AKC. Oh, she was ineligible for 12 to 18. She's not a champion. Well, now she can't even be shown because she's spayed. So all of those, I probably had $6,000 invested in showing that bitch, campaigning her, showing her, grooming, all of this stuff to get that far. And, for no fault of my, but yes, was it my fault? Ultimately, it's my fault because I should have double checked the entry. Even though I didn't make the entry, I should have done that. I should have broke calendar out and counted up, made sure that she didn't have a birthday and was ineligible. She was eligible for the first 3 days of the show, but she was ineligible for the day she won. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's kind of with today's technology and the way it should go, that really shouldn't happen. That's not, I mean, don't mean to go wah, but it shouldn't really happen, but it does happen. So you either really need to be super mindful on those classes or go into the open class. Just go in and do you to kind of put in your mind, entries close on Tuesday, not Wednesday, so you have time to sit there and count on your toes and fingers and all that. And then even if you make a mistake, if you catch it before the show, you can go move. You can go up there and say, if you catch it before,
As long as it's not the wrong dog, because if you enter the wrong dog, they won't change it.
You're wrong. If you enter the wrong dog, you screwed the pooch. Yeah, yeah, you're not you can all
That
what's wrong, you can fix, but they'll have
and
and because
I don't want it to be like we're pooping on AKC because we're not at all. It's just I mean, we can put people in space, we can put people on the moon, we're exploring Mars. We can take and type a prompt into our computer system and make us look like cartoons and we can do so many things, but we can't update our dog show points for 3
well,
weeks and it puts you into a really tough situation because if there's got to be some sort of rule. I mean, there's back-to-back weekends that people show. We need points updated before that show starts, so people aren't making nearly as many mistakes. And there's the internet. You can do things instantly. With through the
w-
internet.
when I was 40, I had a dog that I was showing, and that's been for those drinking them at home. That's been 20 years ago. And that dog, I showed him at 100 shows in 2000. It took me all year to get it to 100 dog shows. Well, now you can be in 100 shows by July because they're having 2 shows in a day. They're having 4-day weekends. They're having, I mean, you can literally, I mean, you're in South Dakota, which is somewhere just a little bit east of BFE or Mount Rushmore. And, I mean, you can go to a lot of shows. I mean, when I lived in South Dakota, there was not that kind of that, I mean, if you did 10 shows in a year, you were traveling 12 hours, and it was a lot, not as many clusters and that stuff. So I think the point being is the superintendents, which are sanctioned by AKC. AKC is just the umbrella, and then the superintendents underneath, like the way the judges are licensed by AKC, and the superintendents are also licensed under AKC, all under the same umbrella. They are the ones that are going to, they set the rules for that. So maybe that needs to be addressed, like on, you know entries need to be done in real time, and maybe they need to be, and some of the superintendents are better than others. Um, as far as like that. But, I mean, because if there's entry errors or whatever, that it won't process, which is kind of like today's technology. We should not be able to process an incorrect entry. I mean, that's kind of inexcusable. And they're too expensive.
It's like entering the wrong credit card number and it goes through. You enter that little 3-digit number on the back of your card and it says nope, not right. Well, it's kind of the same scenario. Your dog's your dog's 18 months old and you're trying to put her in a 12 to 18 months. Doesn't work. Not going to go through. That's how it should be.
Absolutely shouldn't. There's really no reason for it, other than no one's really pushed the issue, because they'll go, well, it was your mistake. Well, yeah,
Right. It
it
was
was.
my mistake and they made money off of it. I mean,
That's true. That's true. It's very hard to get somebody to change something when they're profiting off of your mistake. When I mean, you have to do more shows now. You have to make more entries now. And you have all of that where, I mean, like my bitch was spayed because she wasn't, there were no more shows for her. She just lost the championship, and it was just like set it sail. But honestly, I think it's in the idea of customer service. I just think we should do better. I think we can do better.
no. And that's the thing is like, should we do better? Yes. But can we do better? Percent. And that's where the problem is. Like, we can do better as a entity. We can do better than that. But so we had winner's bitch and winner's dog. That was all that was in the breed ring. So there's going to be no breed winner. Winner's
Right.
bitch was a um, let's see. So winner's bitch was a 3-point major. So
Correct.
the points will stay there. Does the major stay there then? So what happens? Will the reserve winner's bitch still get a 3-point major, or will she just get 3 points in the major?
That's kind of an interesting thing, because the reserve winner's bitch will, and I've never really totally grasped that. She's going to get a 3-point major, but she actually didn't defeat that other dog who won the major. So she probably should, and technically probably shouldn't, but she's going to, if there was 3 point win, the 3 point win, even if it broke, it's not like they removed your dog from competition. They just removed her from eligibility. And like, but like kind of like they kept her in, you know, there's lots of different things like when you're talking about points and figuring points and, because back in the dark ages of dog shows when we went on horse wagon and all, you would say, well, your dog only needs a major. So if there's not a major entered in males or females for you to go win or go best of winners, then you wouldn't show your dog because that would be kind of tacky to show your dog to take single points from other people that your dog didn't advance your dog towards its championship. But now, there are so many champions being shown. If you go breed or opposite over champions, that adds to your points. So, I mean, so maybe you only have 2 points, but you went best of opposite sex over, say, three female champions. Well, now you got a major. And then even beyond that, if you win say there's not a major, even if you go best of breed or variety, if you place in the group, and it used to be you had to go group one. And I actually had a dog that did go group one from the classes and on to best in show. And he was not a champion. And he got a 5 point win for going best in show, or actually winning group one, gave him the 5 point major. But now, if you place in the group and you defeat any breed that there's a major in, so let's say you're showing Japanese chin and you get a group four and the Pomeranian doesn't place, but there was a 5 point major in Pomeranians, you get that 5 point major. And so there are more major possibilities by either beating out champions or placing in the group. Those are all options available that you could show your dog, where before you probably wouldn't show your dog because you were like, oh, it'll make everybody mad and there's no way that we're going to finish the dog, that way. So that's kind of been a good thing. And even at some of the specialties now, I think if there is a 2 times what would be a 5 point major, the reserve gets a 3 point major. I'm sure you've seen that. So I mean that's more wins, more points, which people like. They want to, if they're going to go and compete, they want to have possibilities to win.
Yeah, and so like, and we're gonna face that this weekend. There's not enough chins to make a major, so it's kind of like, oh, that sucks. It's a bummer, but you know what? We can get some points out of it, and then we can go to group, and we can get a group four, something like that. Maybe we move up and get a major out of it.
You
Who
can.
knows?
It can happen.
And the points, I mean, it's another one of those things. Like, it's not a perfect system, but I also think there's room for improvement. And I say that with this weekend exactly for two scenarios. Like, scenario number one is exactly both scenarios were in. That was it. So our winner's bitch goes to breed, wins breed over winner's dog. No specials. She's gonna get disqualified and lose her breed because she was entered in 12 to 18 instead of open. Here's the deal. She was the only one in 12 to 18, so she was gonna win no matter what in 12 to 18. There was only one open bitch, and she beat her in winner's bitch. So technically, if she was entered into the right class, she still beat that dog. She
Correct.
still went to the breed ring and
Absolutely.
won, and she's going to be disqualified. And it doesn't change a single thing other than she was entered in 12 to 18 instead of open. She beat the exact same dogs, did everything that would have been the exact same,
Exactly.
except really what would have happened is the dog that got reserved probably wouldn't have got reserved. Probably would have been a different bitch from a different class. Maybe that dog still would have got reserved. Who knows? But she still beat her no matter what. So it's kind of like, well, that's a shitty scenario where the points, kind of how they work out. Does she really need to be disqualified? Maybe it should just be more like a warning of like, hey, you did something wrong, but it didn't affect anything. Whatever.
So, okay. there's different kinds of disqualified. All right. So if your breed has as a DQ, when we're talking about like size or color or weight. And that's where, like, I think at this weekend, you maybe had some dogs that were weighed out for that. So, like, if they get measured out, weighed out, that type of thing, if they are, disqualified for that 3 times, then they can never show again. So they are truly disqualified. So what you have, you can mess up your entries, Tyson, as many times as you want. You can do that over and over and over again, and you can continue to blow through your money, and it will not affect you. Your dog will never be disqualified. Your dog is really just ineligible for that class, and so the wins are going to be taken away. Disqualifications are a different thing, and now they have, like, so if you're exhibiting your dog and your dog say it doesn't walk, doesn't show, doesn't let the judge go over it, then they're going to say unable to exam, which means your dog didn't show well enough to be able to do an evaluation as per the AKC standard, and they just tell you to go. And you can do that over and over and over again, if that's what you want to do. Um, which, I mean, kind of bad preparation on the exhibitor's part, but hey, it's your money. But then again, if your dog tries to bite, then you get like a letter of warning, like, don't let that happen again. And if your dog does bite, you're one and done. You don't ever get to come back again. You're not allowed to enter a show unless you go through the reinstatement process, and if they pass it. But so those are like truly what, when you're talking about disqualifications, you can be weighed out, you can be measured out, you can, you have some other thing, like, or if you have like a inappropriate color, you get disqualified 3 times, you can't come back. Inappropriate marking, that you can, that's a permanent mark. And so say your dog does get a disqualification, like if it was me, my dog weighed out and I was part of the circuit there, I would weigh it again before I showed it. I would know, because, like, people in the breed ring, everybody that's in your ring with you has the possibility of calling for the weight on your dog. It's maybe not, it's your right as an exhibitor. And the judge can call it, you know, all of that. And so then you can be weighed. So if your dog is maybe borderline, he might want to go on the green bean diet for a couple of weeks before he hits his next show.
Yeah, and that's a tough predicament there when you get into that. Second, so we had that scenario where it doesn't make a ton of sense. Like, whether we are in the wrong class or the right class, we beat the same dogs, we should win. But it's not how it's going to happen. The second scenario is with points where there's opportunity to grow. Is so 2 class dogs, 4 class bitches. The points just are weird, because the way that it would be is with 4 bitches, they bring a 3-point major into the breed ring. The boy brings really nothing into the breed ring at that point. I mean, he won a point from the other class dog, but if the boy wins breed, he gets a 3-point major. He just takes the girl's 3-point major. But that, logically, that seems weird, because it's like, but he just beat that bitch who's not counting towards that major, because she beat the other 3 dogs, plus he beat the other dog. So really, if you're counting a point per dog that he beat, technically, it would be 5 dogs that he beat, technically. So it's like the points are a little weird, I feel like, at times.
All right. So originally there was 4 awards when you would go in a show: winner's dog, winner's bitch, best of breed, best of opposite sex. Those were the 4 awards. And that's when, like, that was, and then shortly after I got started showing, they brought in the best of winners award, the 5th award. So you had breed, opposite, winner's dog, winner's bitch, and best winners. And so the best of winners award is between winner's dog and winner's bitch. And it's the original concept of it was, especially in breeds that were hard to find points in, like a really rare breed, like you could go all over the world and not, in all over the country and not see any. And so dogs only have a shelf life of so long that they're going to show before they start to age out. And people were like unable to find majors. Like there might not be a major in, one of these off-brand breeds where there weren't one of the real popular breeds. So what they started out saying is if the judge compared the winner's dog and the winner's bitch and said, which of these do I like better? And if you say, well, actually, I like him, there's no males, but there's a major and females, but I like the male better than the female. Well, then why shouldn't he get a major too? And so what he does is he's getting matching points. The best of winners dog gets the same number of points. Now, if the best of winners dog has all the points, like this last weekend, I was judging in one of the toy breeds, and there was a major in the female sex, and there was single points in the dog sex. And I looked at them going, oh, there's no way in no universe that this male could ever beat this female. Well, he doesn't go best of winners then. And she keeps the major. But if you split the points, is what they call it, the crossover or whatever, then you go ahead, the best of winners ribbon, which is a separate award. You know, it's only between winner's dog and winner's bitch. The best of winner's dog gets matching points. So that was kind of a thing done in the day for especially for lower entry breeds. So it was harder to find. And in a lot of the toy breeds, people that have been in it for a long time will keep girls. We keep girls because you're always needing a girl. You're always needing a girl. You get a few males, you got a lot of males. It's like, and if they're good males, and it's like there's usually much less competition in males than there is in females, because the people who are longtime breeders all like, it's like, I can't keep another male, because we keep the males so much longer, right? I don't need a male, I need a bitch. So then all of a sudden your bitch entries grow, and your dogs are way down here. And so that was kind of an equalizer, where if you had a nice male, you could get him finished off of going best of winners. And that happens all the time. You can finish dogs all the time, and they will never defeat a dog of their same sex. That can happen easily. And the more obscure the breed, the more often it happens.
Yeah, and I mean, we had that scenario a couple times where our boy dog wins best of breed, but he's the only boy in there, so he's not even beating other boys. He's just beating some girls and that are in the ring. But I'm sure, as a new person to dog shows, less than a year, the point system is like, okay, this is a little confusing, a little weird. I get it, but at the same time, like, the matching of it is like, okay, that's cool, but I still beat this other boy. Like, it should add to the total because I still beat this amount of dogs. Not, but it doesn't. But in a long term person, it's like this is way better than it used to be. So there's a couple different visions that people see, right?
Sure. And when you have been, and so the number of points that, so there's all the different divisions, and, we could probably put that up on somewhere on the podcast, where they have different point schedules for different divisions of the country. And they send those out every May. And they take that by the number of points there are in either sex for that breed, in every breed. So, if there's a lot of a certain gender in a breed being shown, then the points go up, 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 up. And if the entry, and you can maybe go like, we had a show we always go into in Texarkana. Well, Texarkana is right on the Texas-Arkansas border. And luckily, the show was on the Arkansas side. And the points were lower in Arkansas than they were in Texas. So by going across the street, you could beat the same number of dogs, but it might be a major win there. And those are all things that you have to keep track of when you're competing after the show, before you go and hit the hotel room. There's the tear sheets at the superintendent's desk. If you've had a good winning weekend, you should go in there and look and see, and take your phone, take a picture of it, to make sure you get accredited with the right, because sometimes the judges were super old, blind, and maybe I put down 17, but it looks like 11, I mean, yeah. So you go check it, make sure that it's right, make sure you got the points, and because that is something that you need to change because the further away you get from that show, the harder it is, the more arduous it is to argue. I went winners that day, and no, I didn't get a picture. I had to leave, blah blah blah. I mean, do you have the ribbons? So I mean, then you call back the judge who's already been to 8 more dog shows where they've done 175 dogs. You remember that little cream colored chihuahua? No, no, I don't.
Yeah, which one?
One, which one? One of the 30. So I mean, that's a good little habit to get into and to go over there and check those tear sheets, make sure you got accredited with those points and make sure that you got moved into the, you know, because they're going to end up on your dog at the end of the day.
So on those tear sheets, that those get submitted by the superintendent sometime during the week. They have like a time frame that they have to submit them to AKC, right? So if you check, say the show is Friday, or say the show Saturday, Sunday, as long as you check by Sunday before the superintendent leaves, like they don't submit them Saturday after the show, do they? And so it's like by Saturday night you have to do Saturday's results.
As you're doing because you know how on the sets they'll say Judge Smith is at 8 o'clock and they do these
Yeah.
breeds. Then at 11:25 they're doing these, and then they're going to go to lunch, and then they're going to come back and they're going to move to ring 8 over here. Every time they finish a set of those dogs, the superintendents are running around pulling the sheets out of the judge's book, and they're entering them in. And those sheets are over by the superintendent's table, and they're a lot of times they're yellow, and they're all clipped together by the groups, like, the 7 groups. So if you're, Japanese chin, well, if you're in that first group, before lunch, they're going to have the sheets in there for that. And then the next day is a whole nother show. It's a whole nother event. It's a whole different event number. Those sheets are now, and they've got new sheets. So each show is its own thing. And so,
So you
you
want
know,
to do it before the day ends, because generally what I
bingo.
do is like once I get back to my hotel, Airbnb, wherever I'm going, which this is different for RVers, right? Because a lot of times RVers, they walk out of the building, they walk across the parking lot to their RV, they're in there with their dogs, they can get on their computer, whatever. I'm driving away. I'm like checked out of the event, gone, driving away, loaded up, going to my Airbnb, gonna get some dinner, and then it's like I'll pull up the superintendent's website and look at the results. If they're wrong at that point, now I have, I should have checked while I was there because I could have just talked to him real quick and got it figured out.
You still have a possibility, especially if you check it during the show hours. But
Right.
hey, there are perks of being trailer trash gypsies living on the show grounds. You can walk right back in and pull those out. So I mean, but if you've got a good win, it won't hurt you to or go over there or text one of your friends that's camping at the showground. Say, hey, Barb, go over there and pull out the sheets on such and such. And they can check it for you. And if it's wrong, they can, that you can pay. You just check the win. Make sure you're getting your accreditation because it's way easy to fix it then and it's harder later on. Like this last weekend, I was judging in there, and I had there was an exhibitor that had 2 dogs eligible for owner handler. One, but he handed one off, and so he stayed on one. He handed one off. So the one he stayed on, I had given owner handler to, but the other one, which was like the winner's bitch, well, this lady was not him, not eligible. So he felt that the bitch, since she had went best of winners, she had also gotten owner handler. I'm like, no, it was the champion male got owner handler because you went off of her, you were no longer eligible. But that was easy to fix there, and he just showed the right dog in the owner handler group. But you really should always make sure that those are marked on there, and that's it's it only takes a time or two to go and blow a few $100 and put a few 100 miles on your car and, all that good times, and then have your wins go bye-bye. Then for a while you're going to be really diligent and you're going to check them, and then you're going to get comfortable and sloppy and slide back into it. And yeah, I don't make those stupid mistakes anymore. And then, yeah, it'll happen to you again.
Well, and it's all ebb and flow too, because what happens, once when you get comfortable doing something, and it's like, okay, this is going fine, and then you make the mistake, and then you get really diligent about it. Well, what's going to happen when I'm really diligent about it? I'm probably going to finish these couple of dogs, and then I'm going to have new dogs coming in and showing, and it's going to be all like you're going to have that 6 to 9, 9 to 12, 12 to 18 that change process again, where you're just like, oh crap, and you have to do all the math over again, because it's just that process that starts, and it could be so much easier. Like, they could, again, superintendents, they're humans. They make mistakes, and it happened to us this weekend. There was a mistake made. McKenna walked in the ring with a class dog, and they're like, "What are you doing in the ring? Get out of the ring! You got moved up." And it's like, "What? No, she didn't get moved up." And the judge is like, "On here, she got moved up." And I'm like, "Well, trust me, that dog has 0 points. That did not get moved up. So there's a mistake somewhere." So we had to call the superintendent over, and it turned out the superintendent was trying to move up a different breed instead of Japanese chin,
Sure.
and made the mistake. So it's like, it does happen. And then, we don't think mistake, it's like, how they can make a mistake. Well, they do. There's an opportunity there to make things more digitalized so less mistakes happen. But right now we're dealing with humans, pen and paper. And like you said, handwriting, it
Yeah.
happens. You can make a three into an eight and an eight into a three, and all the messiness can get confused really easy.
Those digital drop downs. One time I was entering Arkansas and wasn't paying attention. Had got my dogs entered in Alaska. I get the premium list, like a judging schedule. I'm entered in Anchorage. I didn't know that. I wasn't planning on doing that, but I just didn't catch that it dropped down. I was in the wrong. It was AK instead of AR. My bad. But one thing that's kind of helpful is when you go ahead and register your dogs, because, before you enter a show, period, you have to have your dogs adult registered. Used to be you could show them a few times on the puppy paper. Not anymore. You have to have them adult registered. So when you have your file where you can keep their shot record and their microchip information and all that, it probably wouldn't be a terrible idea while you're thinking to go ahead and write date of birth, when they would go into 9 to 12, when they would go into 12 to 18, and have those dates on their file. So when you are like real quick going to do your entries, you can look at their file, get their number down, and go, oh, okay, this day they're eligible for this class, and this day they're eligible for that class. And that would probably be very helpful, where you could at a glance know which date that's you need to be in that class for.
Yeah. And I mean, it would be super helpful, because a lot of people probably show one or two dogs.
Mhm.
A lot of people show 5 to 10 dogs. I mean, you see it all over the place. The people that show 1 to 2, a little bit easier. When you have 4 to 5 to 6 dogs that you're registering, it's like, A, you're spending 600-700 bucks. B, there's a lot of dates to remember, and especially on a weekend that's got 4 shows and you're entering into 4 shows, and and then if you have a date change in the middle of the show, that's where you run into the issue, is like
Oh,
the date change
throw
in the middle of the show.
throw in some dyslexia where
Yeah.
if you're tired and you're not watching, like, it's like, or like on those foreign pedigrees where they don't put it doesn't go uh day, month, year, you can get some great dates of birth out of that. I mean, no, you really have to be clear-minded and paying attention with all of your 2020 vision skills and knowing those dates so you could know the classes that your dog is eligible for, and then figure out how you want to go from there. And that's one thing where that open class, when in doubt, knock it out, put it in the open class, because open is open to everybody. You can't, I mean, you can be a finished champion, you can have no points, it doesn't much matter. You know,
And I mean,
this,
I guess the thing about open is, like, you're gonna have, like, because I'm thinking about open, and I'm like, well, why not just do open for everything? Say I have a 9 month old puppy. It's like, why wouldn't I just do open class? And then it's like, well, because there could be a 24 month old, a 20-month old bitch in there, And it's like, well, you're still gonna have to defeat that bitch at some point. Like you're gonna have to defeat her in winner's bitch to go on to breed anyway. So it's like you might as well just take her on right away and try to beat her rather than winning your puppy class and then going to the, winner's bitch and having to beat her at that point.
The original concept of it, the original idea was, okay, so there aren't very many shows. So there's not as many shows to go to. And so you want to enter your dogs and you want to like show multiple dogs so you could show them in separate classes and the possibility of getting more of them into the winners class. That's the original idea. And then also, when the open class used to be the really hard class, because that was your very mature dogs that were usually super well trained, and those are your dogs that were ready to win. And so you would go right into that open class. Well, okay, back in the day when majors were like, let's just say Cocker Spaniels, because I know those numbers. Cocker Spaniels, it was like 14 for a 3-point major for in males, and then there's a couple more in females. So, those classes would be break them all up and all that. But nowadays it's 4. So if you have a good dog, it's never going to see the open class as a champion if you show it all. I mean, you're going to have it finished from the puppy class. You know, almost I would say back at that point in time, it was kind of a big deal that, ooh, somebody's puppy just won from puppy class. It is not. That happens every show, every other breed. The puppies are almost always your most competitive dogs because they just haven't been shown yet, but because unless it is an import or something, no one has a dog that is 24 months old drowning in hair that they haven't been showing, unless it's like I say, it's a rare thing for that open class to have any amount of competition in it. So
Well, I
there's
mean, because as things evolve, like puppies are looking nicer at younger ages, but so they're finishing earlier. But there's so many more shows and opportunities now to finish. So back in like when you're talking, it's like if you got to go to 3 shows a year, like, yeah, your dog was gonna get older before you could finish them because not only were the points higher, but you didn't show them nearly as much. Now, I mean, you can show 4 times in a weekend, and you can pretty much show any weekend if you're willing to drive 8 hours, so it's kinda you could finish them pretty quickly at this point if you wanna travel around a little bit, so not that not that hard. So yeah, and I never even thought about open. It's like I probably should just entered her into open at the beginning, but then it was kind of just like, well, she's 12 to 18, so why put her in open? She'll get there or she'll
So
finish.
in the breeds that there's a lot of foreign interest, like there's breeds that come over where there's a lot of dogs that come from out of the country, like say Pomeranians or poodles. Their national shows, well, they'll have a lot of foreign exhibitors. They might be showing uh, a multiple best in show dog in their country, but when it comes here, it's not champion. It's just going in the open class. And that's when you'll see really nice dogs hanging out in that open class. You go, wow, that's a nice dog. And I mean, how did that, but it's like, it's not been shown here. That's when you're like, so when you go somewhere where there's going to be bigger competition, well, then maybe you might want to compete against the more your age group or whatever. But at the average all breed show now, no, our entries are down further than that. I think it's actually more competition as far as like once you get into going for your grand championship, there will be all different kind, there's more people competing for grand and grand majors and all that stuff. So I mean that's, kind of throwing it in there.
So let's wrap this up with the same, just keeping on this topic. So, what happens? Is there anything the exhibitor can do to fix anything after the show has ended? So, in a scenario like this, is there anything? Call AKC, email AKC, text message them. It's just what is done is done. Move on.
Save your tears for your pillow. There is nobody cares. You had an opportunity to do it right when you did the entry. You had an opportunity to double check it once you got to the show before the show. You had an opportunity to do it before the next show. At the point when you're driving home from the show and you have already done the entry wrong, done the exhibition wrong, and now you're driving home and just now figuring out that you did it wrong. Yeah, it's done. There's no going back
It's
on
just
that.
nothing. Yeah. So then it's just you wipe it off as crap, made a mistake, and
Learning
you move on to
experience.
the next one. Yeah.
It's a learning curve. It's a I'll not do that again for a
I'll
while.
tell you what the first thing I did when I got home last night, though, other than let my dogs out because they made a 5-hour trip without stopping to go to the bathroom, which fantastic on them. The first thing I did was went and looked at my show this weekend, made sure my entries were right. I double checked those entries because I wasn't going to make that mistake again.
Yeah, no, we're gonna make a new and exciting mistake this next time, but no, not that. That's ineligibility for classes. That's just that's one of those things where if you're showing an owner handler, you want to make sure that you've got to be in that best of breed class competing. You have to be the one, you have to be eligible. If you're showing in a class entry size where they're going to have that, you have to be eligible. I mean, all of that stuff, you can be deemed ineligible for a class and then you cannot win from that class.
That's very, very interesting, but the rules are the rules, and that's just what it is. We play if we want to play the game, we got to play by their rules. That's just what it is, you
Exactly.
know.
Yeah, they're not really asking us, I mean, they should. I mean, we're brilliant, but they don't care.
I mean, we could just start a petition. We could just start a petition to the AKC of like, you know what, we need to digitalize everything and allow, let's just make this so you can't make these mistakes. But then they have to spend money to come up with a digital system, and then they lose the money from all the mistakes that are made. I'd be interested to see like a profit loss statement on how much money they make off of mistakes, people's entry mistakes every year. That'd be funny to see. I'd be interested.
Well, and so like the superintendents that don't operate in real time with payment, if they are don't operate in real time. So if say you punch in your credit card number and you transpose your security code, your entries are going to go through, but your card's not going to accept the charge, right? So then you're going to get a like a bounce check. Like anybody writes checks anymore, but they're going to go ahead and they're going to say, oh, when you go to the show, we'll go up ringside and they're going to say, oh, your entries are being held for payment, which of course they have to yell really loud. So everybody around goes, well, their entry didn't go through. Well, it was just a stupid typo. But now you have to go over there, you have to pay it in cash, and they're going to charge you so much per entry. And I mean, and you think to yourself, well, gosh, if I'm on Amazon or anything and I order something and I put in the card number wrong, it's just not going to go through. I mean, why couldn't you do this as well? But then you wouldn't get to pay that extra fee because those fees end up being hundreds of dollars per show. And
And the thing about it is, you're going to pay them because you're already at the show. You're there, ready to show, thinking you're showing. So, what are you going to do? Say, never mind, I don't want to pay that fee and drive home? No, you're going to pay the fee. You're going to
no,
say some
because
choice words, but
yeah, they can actually, you can get in trouble for not paying that fee. Like it's with your AKC privileges. I mean, once you make an entry, if you bounce your check or send insufficient funds, you're held liable to that. You don't get to walk away from that. They entered your dog. They did their part. You have to pay. And if you were NSF, you're going to pay that too.
my big takeaway is everything needs to be digitalized. I'm pro technology. We need to digitalize everything so we can make sure that everything is smooth and easy. But I say that because I'm coming off of a weekend of a big mistake. So it all happens, and next weekend will be a different story.
Well, your dogs are good. You're winning. You just get to win a little more. That's all.
And that's why I had to tell my daughter. I was like, it still happened. Your dog, you and your dog were still picked. You still won the breed. It's not official, but the judge picked it. It still happened.
It
It
still
was there.
happened.
You
It
got to
was there.
experience it. The emotions were real. The picking was real. It wasn't a dream. Like, it happened. We're just gonna get this ineligible because we had the wrong class. Whatever. But you know that she can do it, so we'll go do it again. And there you go.
Sure. No, and those things will happen to you. Like, you know, And that's why you before you move your dog up, you really need to take a hot minute, go through, count up those points, make sure you're eligible for them. I had a winner's dog one time at a national specialty. Got there and they had the superintendent. There was a class discrepancy, and I went over there and before the show, I saw it, and they said, "Oh, well, we'll just change that." Okay, so I showed him at the show. He went winner's dog and best of winners. It was a specialty, national specialty, and finished, won a whole plethora of little trophies and whatnot. And then we moved him up and we started campaigning him, and he started winning several. He won several groups and all that. Anyway, long story short, this was back when it wasn't even as fast as on the processing as it is now. They found that they said, well, that superintendent didn't have the authority to do that change, and they shouldn't have done that. Right. And so they took the points away from him. But I had already finished that dog like the week before that specialty, and I had left him in the open class because I wanted to show him in that class because I had a champion I was showing him the best of breed. And, he just finished by happenstance the weekend before, but it wasn't confirmed. And honestly, it wouldn't matter if it was confirmed because he was, it was open. Open's open. And so they like, oh my gosh, they're going to take away his ranking because he's going to lose all those group points. Like, sorry, he was already finished. You know, so just make sure when you move into that best of breed class, you've got your 15-2 back from your class dog days.
Yeah, and I mean that's just like, but why? Like, why? So why does it take? Do we? Why does it take 3 weeks to update the points?
It used to take way longer. Used to take like 3-4 months.
Jeez, Louise. And nobody probably knows why, other than that's just how it works. That's how long it takes.
You want to go to Oz and go up there and pull on the curtain, you go for it,
I want to
but
go there and put the numbers in quicker.
yeah, let me key these in. Yeah. It used to they actually would send them out and they would because like they would have like all of the points, and that was literally in super itty bitty tiny print. And I mean, you would have to wait months and months for this to come back out. And through they had the AKC Gazette, would now all get online. We all flip over to the secretary's page. Who got suspended? Who got fined? Who's approved for what? But that's where they would put the show wins, and so it took a long time. So now for people that have been doing it for a while, we go, well, we're pretty fast now. We get in a matter of a couple of weeks before it was that many months. So, but it could be faster, and it could be you could. I've always thought that if they ever wanted to, truly get it together, you could do at the show entries, like in a lot of different, things where you would have to, go there and enter at the show, and they could key it in, and you could do, like when you go to a lot of the races and stuff, some of them you have to enter in advance, but a lot of them you can just show up day up, pay a little extra fee. People would do that. They would pay an extra fee if they could enter the day of. But
Well, and even like, I mean, the technology is there and it's around. I mean, go to an airport. There's monitors all over in the airport and they change instantly with, I mean, anybody that's had a flight delay, it. It changes on that screen as second it happens. So it's
you
like you
get the
should be
tech.
able to, yeah, we should be able to have our entries all on a digital screen. And if somebody shows up and wants to enter the show within a certain time frame before the show starts, you type it in the computer, it goes up on the computer screen, and now we all know who's in, like it really could be possible. It's possible.
It's totally possible, and they even to the point where because we had talked. I mean, because sometimes people sometimes there'll be questions as to people having multiple exhibits, like, oh, I brought the wrong one in the class. How hard would it be to if you were going to scan the dogs? That I always thought would be kind of cool if their microchip was their AKC number. How easy would that be? I
Or
mean,
again, I'm using the airports because it seems like the airports have it figured out. You have your itinerary number, you scan it. If it's not you, you're not getting on the airplane. It could be the
you're
same
not.
thing. You scan your dog's chip as you go into the ring. If it's not the dog, then it's not the dog. But Hey, there's a foolproof way to make sure that we're showing the right dogs.
There you go. How about that?
You
You know
know?
what's pretty cool these days? TSA pre-check. Love it.
Did you get
Wow.
it? Man,
Finally. Oh my
yeah, it's
gosh.
awesome.
Best thing ever. I mean, leaving the shoes on, leaving the belt on, it's like cruising on through there, got change in my pockets. I'm like loving life. I mean, this is technology at
Best
its finest
$80 you've ever spent,
in my life. In
yeah.
my life. Yes. So happy about that.
All right, so let's wrap this episode up. We're talking getting disqualified or just getting your points pulled from dog shows because it happens. Every single person that's listening to this episode, it's probably happened to if they've shown a dog. You take it and you turn the other cheek and say, "I'm still going to enter the next week and going to make the same mistake again, probably at some point." So
Well, but we're going to our takeaways are we're going to have on our dogs' individual folders. We're going to list their dates of birth, their class eligibility dates. So you can look at that real quick while you're putting those entries in or keep it in the notes on your phone or whatever. And so if you're going to use other classes other than the open class that you have those now, then take that extra 2 seconds. And when you get your entries up back from the superintendent, and the other thing on there, because one time I entered and I got something, I got the emails back from them saying I got their entry. I didn't open them and they hadn't accepted the entry. And so I clicked on it. It was like, oh, the numeric limit had been reached for this dog. So some of my dogs were entered and some of them didn't get in before the number for the show had cut off. And it didn't look markedly different. So I thought, oh, I entered 5. I see 5 emails and too lazy to open the emails. I mean, that's epic, that's really epically lazy. Go in there, see it, take a quick check to go through those because you have time, you have options, you can change things and you can make it happen at that point. Even up until before your show, you can do this because if
see,
you
I'm
wait,
I'm living on edge right now for this show this weekend. I got the email confirmations. I know I've looked at them all because I always put them in a folder in case something happens. And then I get mail from them while I was gone this weekend, and I check my mail today, and I see that I had a letter from the superintendent, and I was like, "Throw it away." And then I walk in the house, and I'm like, "Yeah," and I walk back out, and I pull it out of the trash can and open it up just to make sure everything was and it was just confirmation of my entries, but it's like, "Well, why'd you send them in the mail? Why don't you email them to me?" I don't understand that, but yeah, you're second guessing yourself on everything now, so I ran back out to the trash, pulled it out of the trash, and checked it. So all right, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode. Please help us out and share this with your friends, your family, anybody that is in your dog show community, especially if you're the RVer types. You guys can sit around the dog shows and listen to our podcast. So share it with the people that you eat dinner with and all the fun things that you do at the dog shows. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're growing there, which is probably the most beneficial one because you get to see us. And someday there's revenue that might be able to be made from that. So that'll help us out at some point too, if you guys feel like helping us out. So thanks for listening to this episode. Dale, any last closing comments?
hey, I mean, send us your questions, because we're always open for new material and old experiences. And so, yeah, send us your questions because, there's some good information out there and we can all learn together and kind of like rehash our same mistakes.
Well, and that's the fun part is, we could talk about what we've had an episode on whelping and we could talk about whelping in a year, but things change and technology changes and new things come out and people discover new ways and new things and we all get to talk about it and hopefully it helps somebody out. So for Dale, I am Tyson. You guys have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you guys soon. Bye bye now.
Bye.